Our question for today is about the Mosdos literature program, and you guys have given us feedback that it looks like an amazing program, and it really is, but it looks a little bit overwhelming. And so the question is, what would a day look like in Mosdos? What would it look like to do it daily? How do we actually implement all this wonderful information?
Well, and I think there are a lot of different ways to do it because Mosdos has so many different components, different ways to approach it. There could be a lot of different ways to do it. Here's how I would tackle it if I was handling a given week. And I would do it as a weekly schedule, not a daily schedule. Give the kids a little bit of freedom in how they want to do that. But for example, let's look at a third grade course. So that would be, okay, so this is about halfway through the third grade year. You're going to start by reading the lesson in literature. That's a brief story with some questions just to give you an idea of the literary concept you're covering. So for this one, for example, it's about different settings in literature. Then you have your main story. So I'll give you a little heads up of what the story is about, followed by the story. This one is about a town that moved. Then there will be sometimes a related poem and then some follow-up studying the selection questions. Now, different families will have different approaches to this, but here's what I would do. I would go through all of these questions and answer them orally. Then I would choose probably one of the written activities and have the student complete that. So in this one, for example, maybe you would choose to create a flyer trying to get people from across America to come move out to your town of Hibbing out in the American West. In addition, you will also have some workbook pages that go along with it. So for this particular activity, there is 2 vocabulary pages. There's a brief writing exercise, an exercise in determining cause and effect, some drawing exercises, and that's it. So that is how I would schedule a third grade Mosdos student. Now some families will want to do every written activity possible. Some will want to do things a little differently, but that's how I would do it for third grade.
And let me just come back and say, so in your week, I probably would say start the week with the reading. Yep. Maybe answer the questions orally while it's fresh, and then each day after that have them do something else. So the next day have them complete 2 of the workbook pages or all the workbook pages, and the last day have them do the whatever activity you guys chose out of it. So you kind of break it up throughout the week. They can always reference the story again if they need to, but you're not trying to cram all of that into one day. Just kind of freshen it up as you go through the week.
So then for other grades, some grades you will be doing 2 or 3 a week. Very similar though, you'll be reading it, maybe on a different day doing the workbook activities, on a different day doing a writing assignment. So very similar throughout the grades, but with slight variations depending on which grade level your child is in.
And you know your child best. So for some of your children to read it will be more than enough for one day. For other children to read it and get through some of the questions on the first day will be easy enough. So kind of base it off your child, but knowing at a glance, okay, I've got reading, I've got activity questions, and I've got some questions to answer with an additional activity, kind of tells you maybe you got 4 days worth of things to split up or work it with however your child. So if your child's easily overwhelmed with literature, cut some of those out. If they're not, add more in. But that should give you a running start on the literature program.
Yep, and know your child, know your family. There's a lot of hands-on activities that correlate. There's a ton you can do with it, but you don't have to do everything with it either. So decide what is best for your family and implement it that way.